Good morning again, gang. So I ask you this: is World War III inevitable? In 1949, Albert Einstein was quoted as saying, "I know not with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones." Now, if you look through history, okay, pretty much anywhere, wars are basically fought for two reasons. The first being imperialism, and the second being economics. I mean, go back to the Revolutionary War in the United States, imperialism and economics, if you will. The British Empire wanted to maintain the territory. The colonists did not. Look at the Civil War. Again, same thing. Imperialism and economics. Both sides wanted, primarily economics in this one. The South wanted to keep their economic structure while the North wanted something different. World War I, you had Serbia wanting to own the land of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Austria-Hungary was standing in the way. World War II, both economics and imperialism. I mean, the Germans had just come out of a disaster economy, and in order to rebuild the economy, and Hitler's imperialistic ideas wanted to take over Europe, if not the world. Okay, Japan, imperialistic, again, same thing. Go to Vietnam or Korea, same thing there. This was imperialistic ideas, taking territory. Look at the Gulf War. Everybody, the word is, that it was fighting for democracy and rights and everything like that, but anybody with half a brain knows it was a war over resources, primarily oil. Okay. Which leads us to where the future lies. Now, China. This is the problem right now. It's no secret that China wants to control Taiwan. We already saw what China did with Hong Kong and violated that treaty with Great Britain. Okay, it's no secret China wants to take over Mongolia, and it's no secret that China and Pakistan want to control India. Okay, so it kind of went up with the situation there. Where it starts to wonder why I say, is it inevitable? Okay. You look at what came out from the Japanese foreign ministry said yesterday, okay? Quote, they're going to consider their options to make necessary preparations towards supporting to supporting Taiwan if China continues to ramp up its military intimidation of the island. Okay. You have the Japanese foreign minister saying he hopes this matter is resolved peacefully through the two parties, but Japan is now preparing for war. We know what's going on in Australia. Australia now is actively, aggressively pursuing nuclear submarines. Okay. I mean, again, remind you, this is all in the South Pacific, South China Sea, Sea of Japan, whole 9 yards there. If World War III happens, how does that come into play? And like I said, it's all about economics or imperialism. Now, if you want to get into what is going on economically right now with China, this is where it gets a little scary, because we all know what happened with Evergrande. All right, no big deal there. You have the largest real estate investment firm, if you will, basically going belly up in China, causes an economic problem. Now, I want you to understand this. The real estate sector in China accounts for 15% of China's GDP. Evergrande is a big part of that. What kind of got missed in the news, we had another real estate developer on Monday, Fantasia Holdings, default on its bond payments. There is a third real estate development company in China, Cynic Holdings, which is on the verge of defaulting on their debt obligations as well. Add this, okay, so there's 15% of the GDP. Somebody asked on Saturday's live stream, or on Tuesday's live stream, about is the Chinese economy going to go bust? There's 15% of the GDP right there that is in the process right now of going bust. Now, let's add the fact that, as we've talked about, 20 of the 31 provinces in China are under brownouts or blackouts because they have no coal. Okay, they have no way to generate electricity, and all of a sudden they are unloading some of this Australian coal. Okay, that's panic. All right, that's going against what they're believing in. Then you talk about last year with the Three Gorges Dam busting and flooding all the farmland. Okay, now you have a problem with food. We all remember last year China buying soybeans and corn from the United States like crazy. Now we know as of a couple of days ago that their energy minister has ordered all their energy buyers to buy energy at any and all cost. Okay, and we've seen in the last couple of days, natural gas has gone up over 10% in 2 days. The price of coal has gone up over 10% in 2 days. I mean, this is on the futures market, you know. And again, like all of you have said, thank God I have my fuel prices locked in until next year or whatever. That's great. But what the companies are trying to do is lock in the prices now for 2023. Guess what? You're going to end up paying those costs eventually anyway. It may be a year delayed, but you're going to wind up paying them. Economically, China is in dire straits. Economically, the United States is in dire straits. Economically, most of Europe is a disaster. What happens every time you have economic disasters of countries? They go to war to get themselves out of it. If China goes into Taiwan, which is highly likely, the Japanese, the Koreans, the Aussies, and the UK will probably come to the rescue, if you will, at least to try. The Chinese population, 3/4 of them believe that China can easily steamroll the U.S. And by that, that's South Korea, Japan, and Australia, you know, that alliance right there, pretty handily. Okay, so the people know what's going on in China, and the people are behind it. So you have imperialism with China trying to expand, i.e. Taiwan. There are islands there in the South Pacific that is Japanese territory that China illegally claims as theirs. So that's potential. You start looking at what the possibilities are. In that case, would war, if you will, be fought on American soil? Probably not at the beginning. But when you have imperialistic nations that are trying to feed their population, power their population, they need to expand territory. We know China is purchasing land like crazy in North Africa because they can grow food there. But again, now you come into shipping problems. And if you ever looked at a map, shipping something from North Africa to China is not exactly a real direct route. Okay. Hence, this is the reason they are trying for this worldwide road, if you will. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what it's called. China is an aggressor to the rest of the world right now. Japan knows it. Australia knows it. The U.S. inevitably knows it. We're just trying to choose to ignore it. But if China goes into Taiwan, what's to prevent the North Koreans going back into South Korea, going back across the 38th parallel? And China supported North Korea the first time. Remember, the North Korean War has never officially ended. Okay. And China supported the North Koreans in the first place. You start looking at Asia, then you start looking at what's going on in the Middle East. Okay. Turkey playing both sides of the fence. We know Iran wants to take Iraq. They fought a war over that 20 years ago. Okay, maybe it was 30 years ago at this point. And the U.S. basically kept the Iranians out. I don't even want to bring up what's going on with Israel. Russia's still a wild card in this whole thing. As Europe's imploding, okay, you're starting to see the nationalistic side of the former Eastern Bloc starting to become more nationalistic. The world's about to change, guys, and not in a good way. World War III is probably coming. It's not plausible, it's probable at this point, because between the two major causes of war, imperialism and economics, both of those are at a tipping point at this point. Preparing for war is not something anybody wants to do. You hope it doesn't come to your backyard, but it is very possible it could in time. A lot of us won't make it through a war. Americans, Chinese, Russians, Germans, Aussies, Japanese, Mexicans, Brazilians, a lot of us will not survive. Some because of our own fault, others because you happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But human nature tells us all to do whatever we can to survive. Okay? It's our survival instinct is in us, and you will do whatever it takes in the time being. Will you do whatever it takes to protect your parents, your kids, your spouse, your siblings, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, whoever? That's a question a lot of us really need to answer. The line that is used quite often, I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. There's a very good chance that you're going to have to put your money where your mouth is on that one. Something to think about today. But this is getting closer and closer and closer, guys. And I don't want it to come to anybody as a surprise when you wake up one morning and go, oh my God, it started. If you get it in your mind now that it's coming and you think about it seriously, you'll be much better prepared when you turn on the news one morning with your cup of coffee. And it's like that day we were all glued to CNN in 1991, watching the shelling of Kuwait go on. This time it's just going to be closer to home. Enjoy a Wednesday. Pinball out.